Hi guys, welcome to episode 7 of my Flosstube channel. My little buddy here and I would like to say hello and welcome to anybody who is new to the channel and is watching for the first time, or welcome back to those of you who have been following me for a while and are back to see what I'm up to this time. Thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate all of your time and attention, your likes and comments and subscriptions. I do try to respond to people, but if I've missed you, please don't take that personally. Sometimes I do miss them, sometimes I don't get notification. I do try to go back and check, so I love you all, and I will do my best to keep up with you. Again, because this is a hands-only video, I have decided to sort of throw a couple extra things in every once in a while. This little guy is, he is a hand-stitched felt doll, and I will talk about him a little bit later. But I thought I would open with something a little bit different than just my usual hands. He'll be back. Or rather, I'll just set him over here in the corner so you can look at his feet or whatever, keep you distracted. I want to say one controversial thing as I get started. And if it offends you, I apologize. If it means that you walk away from my videos forever, have a nice life. I love you, I still appreciate you, but I'm gonna say this because I feel like I need to, because it was awesome, and yeah. I marched on Saturday, in Sacramento. It was an amazing turnout, it was an amazing experience. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about it, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who supported the marches, who went out and marched, who had friends who marched, who were there in spirit, whether you couldn't be there or didn't want to be there. Whatever, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I will insert one picture of my favorite sign of the march, and then I'm done talking about it for this episode. So that picture's gonna go here. And now I'm done, and we'll move on to more, conventional things? I don't know if conventional is the right word. Less controversial things, that's what I wanted to say. So how are you guys doing? I record every other week, so, I'm not constantly up to date on what's going on in everybody's lives. I will add my voice again to those who are voicing their support for Stitcherista. Danielle, I made a comment on your video, and as many other people have, but still pulling for you, still rooting for you. You've got this. Let me do my cheesy little heart-shaped hands for you. We're behind you. It has been exceptionally rainy here in California, which is a good thing because we had a drought last year, or the year, well, it was still a drought last year, but the year before was really bad, and we desperately needed the water. Now we might have a little bit too much water. Mother Nature tends to, feast or famine. We either have none or we have a lot. So we've had a lot recently. We are supposed to have more. Dusty just wandered into the room and squirmed underneath my leg, so he may make an appearance, we'll see. What else did I want to talk about before I launch in? Oh, I had one question. I know we talk about the frog coming to visit, and there's lots of cute graphics about the frogs and stuff. The thing I wonder is, when we refer to what we're doing when we pull the stitches out, when we're actually frogging the stitches, why do we call that unpicking? Isn't what we're doing actually picking the stitches out of the fabric? So if we are actually picking, wouldn't unpicking be putting the stitches back in? It's a weird language thing. Everybody says it, I've said it, but I noticed it for some reason the other day it's really stuck out to me that we keep saying, I'm gonna unpick this section, or I spent an hour unpicking this section because I had to frog it, and I sort of don't understand why we do that, because it's sort of counterintuitive. Anyway, weird word questions. I like words, I like language, so, like I said, it stuck out to me. If anybody knows why we do that, though, or anybody wants to float a theory about why we do that, feel free to do so in the comments. I'm really interested to hear what you think. This time, I was smart, and I did not delete the pictures of my works in progress. as they were before I actually worked on them again. So I will be able to insert pictures for you. And I actually meant to bring some of the pattern picture, like the cover pictures for the patterns, and I forgot to get those. I don't think I need them. And Dusty is definitely trying to get up here. I don't think I need them, so I won't pause and go get them. Probably. I might. I don't know. Sorry, scatterbrain moment for a second there. Rabbit trail, whatever it is that people are calling those. Anyway, one other thing. I am going to change what I show on my Flosstube channel a little bit, because I don't only cross-stitch like many of us. I do other crafts. I am a knitter, I am a crocheter, I spin yarn, I dye wool, I do beadwork, I do quilling work and paper folding work, so occasionally I'm going to bring other things in and show those to you as best I can in, limited space. I will do that after I have done all of the cross-stitch stuff. So if you are not interested in watching that, I will warn you when that is coming, and you can, wander away off to other Flosstube channels and enjoy the, purity sounds wrong, but the cross-stitch only, if that's what you're interested in. If you want to see the other things I'm doing, stick around. You might enjoy something. You might see something that you're interested in. I do have an Etsy shop. I do take orders for things, so, Anyway, Dusty's on the desk. There you go, and he's knocking over my little friend. But Dusty has come to put his feet in the frame and entertain you all with cat toes. And I will go ahead and get started on showing you my works in progress. As you can tell by the sudden appearance of a cattail, I had to pause the video for a second, but we're back on track now. So I mentioned, I don't think it was the last video, but the video before that where I said there were a lot of stitch-alongs happening this year, and I was being tempted by, all of them. I was going to try to attempt to be restrained and not do all of them, but yeah, I mentioned that I'm a magpie, and I sometimes have very poor self-control, so I'm doing a lot of stitch-alongs. So you're going to see a lot of stitch-along stuff this year. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It may mean that there's less progress on some of my bigger projects, but progress is progress, right? And they will eventually get done. And I apologize for this stuff. This is aspen bedding. My craft room also doubles as my snake room. Again, not going to show you snakes, I promise, not without warning. But we use aspen wood chips for the bedding, and the stuff tends to get everywhere, and so it shows up randomly, particularly when a cat tracks it through the desk. So, if you see flakes of wood show up, my room is not falling apart, the ceiling is not caving in, it's just stuff everywhere. Anyway, stitch-alongs. So, I'm doing a lot of stitch-alongs, and so I figured I would just go ahead and show you where I'm at on the 10,000 stitch-alongs that I'm doing. It's not that many. It's, I think, 7, which is a lot, but not 10,000, less than 10,000. Anyway, the first one is the Lakeside Needlecraft Fantasy Stitch-Along, which was started last year. It's continuing into 2017. So, yeah, it's the Fantasy Stitch-Along. Lots of people are doing it. You have seen it, I'm sure, and you have probably already seen January's circle. I will insert a picture of where I was last time, which is basically, well, I'm not going to insert a picture because I'm going to show you here, and there's not really a stitch along or a progress picture to show you, because last time I showed you that I had finished the December circle, which I will show you again if Dusty will actually give me room to do that. The December circle, I'll just use him as a prop. How's that? He can hold the fabric for me. Of course, I'm going to get cat fur everywhere, but that's fine. That's the December, and then he's going to move. Typical cat. Doesn't want to do what you want him to do when you want him to do it. So, that's the December fairy that I finished and showed you last time. So what I did this time was I worked up the side, so the border repeats. And this is the inner border. This is not, there's a whole other external, oops, sorry. kind of lost track of where my hand was. There's a whole external border out here that has the swirlies and hearts and wizard hats and things like that. I haven't started that. Well, rather, I did start it. I messed it up, so I ripped it out, as you can kind of tell over here. I had to pull that, frog that. So anyway, what I did this time is I worked up the side for the repeating border. Each place where there's a gap in the border, there'll be another circle. And then I worked across the top until I got to the opposite corner. Of course, I had to, you know, start where I would have to go completely diagonally across the fabric in order to catch, or to be ready. So this, English. So right now I have set myself up for the January circle. So January's creature of the month is a unicorn. Like I said, I'm sure you've seen many people do this already. I am now ready to actually stitch the unicorn. The nice part about this setup is that now I have the border already done for February and March. So I won't have to do the border work again until April. And it won't be that much. And yes, that is a stain on the fabric. It will come out. Or it's a spot on the fabric. Anyway, that's where I am on the Lakeside Needlecraft Fantasy Stitch Along. I have the circle ready to go for January, which means it's probably not going to be done by January, by the end of January, since I have 8 days now to get the unicorn stitched. I could possibly do it, maybe, but I'm just not that fast a stitcher, so I probably won't. The next one is one that I should really get the cover page for. So hang on one second. Right, back again. So the next one is the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery's Happily Ever After Stitch Along. Happily Ever After Club, they call it, but it's the Stitch Along for this year. And I actually printed cover pages out on a couple of these so I could show them to you, so it's good that I went and got it. Anyway, this is the Happily Ever After Stitch Along, and I love the border on this. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Obviously they have blurred out all of the months, so we don't know what's coming, but this month, January, is the owl and the pussycat. And it took me a little bit of time to figure out that this was a cat and not two birds sitting here. My husband had the same problem. He was like, where's the pussycat? So I had to point that out to him. But I think the border on this particularly is really, really pretty. Now, because I'm doing a lot of things now, a lot more projects, again, sometimes I'm not going to have a lot of progress on things. Like, for instance, this stitch along. This is where I am so far. In case you can't tell, that is this little motif, this little bit, is this, sorry for the crinkling or rustling paper, is this corner of the border. Yeah, I've done a lot, as you can see. This is a piece of 28 count even weave that I dyed myself. And again, I'm trying not to make you dizzy, I apologize. Like I did with the Birthstone Dragon fabric, I dyed this specifically to have some sparkle in it. There you go, you can kind of see the sparkle a little bit. There's not a lot of sparkle. I don't need things to be exceptionally sparkly. I just want a little bit to catch the eye and draw attention. But it is obviously a blue mottled fabric. I actually started with a blue fabric on this, a lighter blue fabric, and then I over-dyed it, so I like the way it turned out. I really do. I'm not as fond... I'm gonna sort of say something that I guess is kind of blasphemous, and say that I actually kind of like the MCG Textiles even weave fabric. I find it pretty easy to work with. I find it pretty easy to dye. I apologize. So this is a piece of actually Charles Craft even weave, and it's stiffer, and so I'm not quite as happy with it, but I like it just fine. I've worked on it before, and I can stitch on it without a problem, so I'm not going to complain too much. Just compare and contrast. But again, that is the tiny itty bitty little start to the Happily Ever After stitch along that I have made. I'll catch up eventually, or I will, as I am with a lot of my stitch-alongs, I will just stitch enough of the border or enough of the frame that I can work on that particular month's characters and then move on and then do all of my catch-up at the end. But Anyway, my insignificant amount of progress on the Happily Ever After stitch along. The next stitch along is another Lakeside Needlecraft stitch along. It is this year's, or the stitch along that started in this year anyway, since they started mid-year last year. This is the Under the Sea stitch along. I'm sure many of you have seen this month's, or the initial month's, character already, so it's not going to be a surprise to you that it is an octopus. This is where I am on the octopus. This is one color, basically just the outline of the bubble-eyed cutie. He's obviously filled in. There's a little fish over here. There is a seaweed, it's not a border, I guess. It's a seaweed garland, excuse me, for mangling English again, that goes around the corner here. And I apologize for the hoop marks. Those will be washed and ironed out, rather. This is the Fabric Flare 20, and I actually got 25 count, accidentally, 25 count even weave from Lakeside Needlecraft. And it is, it specifically says not to wash the fabric because it's printed on the fabric, so. But I think I'll be okay if I get a pressing cloth and iron it eventually, so I will hope. I will keep my fingers crossed. That is the progress that I have made on the octopus. Again, probably not going to be finished by the end of the month, but that's okay. I can always catch up later. He's pretty cute. The googly eyes on him sort of surprised me when I first saw it, but I kind of like it. So these are, and my needle minders are all across the board needle minders that I have made myself out of buttons or charms or things like that. So I'm not going to tell you where the needle minders are. Ugh. Slow down. Not going to tell you where the needle minders come from because I don't need to. They're all from me. Anyway, Under the Sea. Oh, and that one didn't have, actually I don't remember whether I had progress to show you on that one. If I did, I will insert a picture of it here. But I don't think I did, so we'll see. I forget. I apologize. Next stitch along in my long list of stitch alongs. This is my start on the Joan Elliott Faces of Fairy stitch along, and I believe that was a stitch along that was in 2014, and it was hosted and released on Facebook. I've had a couple people ask me about this. I am in the group now. If you are interested in being added to the group, if you send me a private message, because I don't necessarily want you to put your email address on YouTube, just to save you from spam and things like that. But if you send me a message on YouTube, I will do my best to get you added to the group if you are interested in that. But this is the border, obviously, just the very beginning border of Faces of Fairy. I will insert a picture of what that is going to look like, or one of the versions of what that looks like here. I haven't decided whether I'm going to go with, there's a cat motif at the top here, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to go with that or not. Several people have substituted other things because the cat sort of doesn't fit with the rest of the characters of the fairies and the unicorn and Pegasus and that kind of thing. So I haven't decided for sure. But obviously I need to get some border work done first before I even start stitching anything. I am doing this on, if you recall, I mentioned that I had a piece of doubloon from Picture This Plus that I bought a while ago and didn't know what to do with it. Well, this is my piece of doubloon. This is 28 count cashel linen, and it is just barely, as you can see, by how much space I have here on the edge, just barely big enough, in theory anyway, to work for this stitch along. I'm hoping. I'm willing to fiddle with the finished piece and figure out how to get it framed or whatever I'm going to do with it, so I don't mind having to sort of cross my fingers over the borders so much. But I wanted to use this piece of fabric for something, and everything else that I have is too big for it, and this is actually a pretty small stitch along, so I figured I would give it a shot. Also, I really like the way that this particular color, and I don't remember off the top of my head what color this is. It's all DMC. But I like the way that this particular color looks against that model mottled tan parchment-y color. So I'm hoping that it turns out nicely. And if it doesn't, I can always find another piece of fabric or dye another piece of fabric and start over. I don't want to. I don't like to start over, but then again, who does? Anyway, the border for the Faces of Fairy Stitch Along by Joan Elliott. My next stitch along is one that is the late ad, one that I didn't even know that I was actually going to do, because I didn't know it existed until somebody else, and I don't remember who it was, pointed it out on Flosstube. But then I went and looked and fell in love with the concept and the picture, and I signed up because I'm a sucker like that. So, this is the Quotes to Live By. Sorry, I guess she's calling it the Charity Mind? No, just Charity. The Charity Stitch Along, which is called Quotes to Live By. And the charity is For Mind, which is a charity, obviously, that devotes its services and donations to offering and helping people get better access to mental health care and treatment and resources. So this is the picture of, and sorry it's so small, but I don't think I remembered to print out a bigger version, a picture of what we've gotten so far, which is the border, so the Quotes to Live By and the border, and then this is January's installment, which is a quote by Oscar Wilde, that says, "Be yourself, everyone else is already taken," which I really like. There have been a couple people, particularly Darling Bluebell, has changed the colors on this. A couple people have done that, but have swapped out the colors on the quotes and the frame and everything. And I'm really looking forward to see how they turn out, because the colors they've chosen look amazing. As I mentioned, I sometimes don't get a lot done as far as progress goes. I have not gotten a lot done as far as progress goes on this. But, as I posted on Instagram, I love this scroll work. The scroll work on this is just gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to getting to the center motif, the Quotes to Live By piece, because I really like the way that looks too. But I think this is so pretty. For something that's so simple and so easy to stitch, I think it's really, really pretty. This is on a piece of 16 count. White Ada, which is one of the recommended fabrics, and I debated briefly dyeing it to give it a different background color, but I really think that I'm going to like it on the white. I think it's going to be nice and clean and crisp. So, tiny amount of progress. That's what I got done, and there is no picture to show you a before, because there was no before. This is my start. I'm talking kind of fast, I think, and that's because I feel like I have a lot of things to show you, and I don't want to take all of your time, all of your Flosstube viewing time. I apologize if I'm talking too fast for you. If I am talking too fast, you leave a comment in the comment section, down there, and let me know, and I'll try to slow down the next time. This one is another stitch along that you are probably familiar with. If you are not stitching it yourself, you have probably seen lots of people stitching it already, and you've seen the first month completed. Again, you're not going to see that here today because it's not finished, but this is my progress on the Fabulous Women in History stitch along by Clouds Factory. As you can tell, I have done all of one color. I've done all of the white stitching on January's installment. So the medallions and the white in the flag, and I think this is a calculator, this is a necklace, a perfume bottle, this is a hat and the neck on a dress dummy. Our women this installment were Eleanor Roosevelt and Coco Chanel. And the fabric I'm using is not the fabric from Clouds Factory. It is a piece of 32 count even weave that I dyed myself in sort of similar colors. I actually have some, as you can see, there's some blue in mine because I wanted to change it up a little bit and not have it be completely, I don't know. They're using, the suggested fabric was Whimsy from Picture This Plus, and it's beautiful, but it was a little too soft for me, even though we're doing fabulous women in history. I don't know, I didn't quite like it, so I didn't purchase it. So I tried to go for something else that's a little less polished, I guess. Less polished, less pretty, I don't know. Anyway, I dyed this myself. Again, it is 32 count even weave linen. Or rather 32 count linen, because it doesn't particularly look even weave, but regardless. I have said before that I like even weave. I really enjoy stitching on even weave. I should amend that I really enjoy stitching on 28 count even weave. 32 count is either this fabric is too soft or too fiddly, or I don't know, I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying stitching on it. I also had to stitch this twice, because I misread the pattern, which has the center stitch marked and says start on the center stitch, and I predictably went for the center of the pattern, so I had stitched, or started to stitch, actually I had quite a bit stitched, of Coco Chanel over here, where Eleanor Roosevelt should be, and then I realized that I had completely messed that up and needed to start over again. So now I'm set up to do the block correctly. The characters will be in their proper places, and I will get more progress done on this. It's just having to stitch anything more than once sort of frustrates me and slows me down even more than usual. But this is Fabulous Women in History by Clouds Factory, and obviously that is Jasmine, my needle minder for this project. And believe it or not, that is all of the stitch along. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 projects. Or stitch-alongs, not 7. Ha ha ha. I win! Yay! So I realized that I forgot a project. So hang on, I'm going to pause the video one more time and go and get it, and then we'll be on to my usual bigger projects. I'm back. And it's absolutely crucial that I went and got this other project because it is the biggest project that I have, and one that you guys have been fantastic about cheering me on and encouraging me to keep going on this, which means by now you should know it is the tablecloth. It is the bird tablecloth for my mother. So I have had trouble actually taking pictures of this and then being able to insert it, so I guess I'll just show you every single time. This is the tablecloth that is a repeated pattern. This is the first side with the 3 birds that is complete. So I'm 25% done. Yay! And then here, as I said, I have to do all of those birds over again, which is part of the reason why I was dreading it. So here is my progress for Robin, or whatever he is, number 2, which I'm pretty proud of, actually. I think I got a decent amount done on the second round of the birds. And he's looking like his cousin over here. You know, there's the finished version. Let me see if I can fold this over so you can see them in comparison. Well, close quarters, I don't know. There we go. So you can see that he's, you know, we're on track to look the same. But yeah, that's my progress for the tablecloth. Still working on it, still digging it out, and I just got bedding all over it. Lovely. But still digging it out, still chugging along. It will get done. I'm really still hoping to be able to give this to my mother for Mother's Day. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I will try. And now we are into things that I actually do have pictures of. Oh, ooh, haha, wait. I actually forgot a stitch along, so it is 7. Because I didn't show you my progress on the Birthstone Dragons. This one I do have a picture of where I was before, so I will insert. And this is where I am now. So again, not as much progress as I might like because I added a bunch of things like an idiot. Like a scatterbrained magpie. Let me say that, not an idiot. But this is where I am now. And apologies for the runaway thread that I'm not going to be able to get off because I can't see it. Anyway, So the Birthstone Dragon frame, again, like I was saying before, I'm on most of my stitch-alongs, I'm probably going to do this kind of thing where I stitch the frame and then stitch whatever's supposed to be inside the frame and then move on to the next frame and catch up at some point. Or spend some time catching up and then filling in frames. This is the Garnet Dragon. He's adorable. I know there are a lot of people doing this. I know a lot of people have shown their progress on this, so you know what he looks like. Obviously, he does not look like a bunch of orange blotches. He's really cute, and he's holding a garnet over here, and I'm really excited to get him finished. I'm also very excited to see what the other dragons look like, as I just heard from, I think her channel name is Dragon Stitcher. I missed in the blurb that Brittany sent out that the dragons were going to be different styles. The Garnet Dragon is a Western dragon, so he's a typical dragon. He's what you would expect a dragon to look like for the most part, fantasy-type dragon. Apparently she's going to be showing us Eastern dragons and sea serpents and all sorts of things, so I'm actually even more excited to see what the rest of these dragons look like. Again, this is 28 count even weave on a piece of fabric that I dyed myself in Stormy Gray with a little bit of gold sparkle on it. And that is actually Stitch-along number 7, so I was right, and I am as addicted to stitch-alongs as I thought I was. Okay, now, back to the bigger projects. The next project on my list is the January pattern from the Cricut collection. I will insert a picture of where I was last time here. And here's where I am now. Hey, look at that. You can actually see that there's a figure there now, instead of it being white on pale fabric and basically blending into the background. This is the center motif. Jessie Marie, you all know Jessie Marie. I can't remember the name of her channel right now, but Jessie Marie Stitches? Anyway, you know who she is. You've seen her. Yeah. Sorry, my brain just stopped working for a second there. Anyway, you know Jessie Marie. She is also stitching this pattern, and there's somebody else that I can't recall at the moment who is also stitching this pattern. It's not a race, obviously, but it is interesting to see other people's progress on this. This is the center character of the word January. This is actually U, so there is a U around him, her, I'm not sure which. But look, you can actually see that there's something on the fabric. I'm kind of impressed by that. Obviously, I'm not going to get this finished by January. This will be done in time to hang it in my house next January. So I guess I'm going to have to work in that sort of theory that I'll just finish them. And if I get lucky and I happen to finish them in the month that I'm stitching them, then I'll put them up then. But otherwise, I will, start the rotation next year. This is being stitched on a piece of 28 count opalescent Lugana that I dyed. Yeah. Wow. Come back, brain. I dyed this. The fabric was already sparkly, so this is not an example of me putting sparkle in the dye, but I did do the dye cloudy, swirly bits in it. I really like this fabric. Next up is Hufflepuff by Stitchering. And I happened to bring the cover sheet in because I've shown this once or twice, but it has been a while. This is what the pattern will eventually look like. So obviously it's the Hufflepuff crest with the helmet and the badger and all of that good fancy stuff. Here is where I was last time. And then here is where I am now. So this is the one that's kind of tricky to show you because it's kind of a long pattern. But as you can tell, I filled in a couple more shades of gray. I think I have one more shade of gray in this section to finish. I am working in quadrants, so this is the first quadrant of the pattern. So when I get more progress made, you'll see it go this way. And then obviously there's to the right and then the bottom half. But I'm pretty impressed by how this is turning out. The pattern does not call for backstitching as far as I recall, so without backstitching, she's done a pretty good job of getting the shading in and making the details pop. So it's actually a very fun stitch for all that it's mostly gray at this point. But it's coming along nicely, I think. And then, oh, okay. Next up, I'm going to talk about my giant frustration for the week, or for the 2 weeks. So the next project I'm going to show you is my Dragon Knot by Stephanie Law from Heaven and Earth Designs. I will insert a picture of where I was on this last time here. And where I am now. So, as any of you who have stitched Heaven and Earth Designs know, it's the amount that you see done on the project is deceptive. So it doesn't look like I've done that much. I've basically done, I've added a foot here, and I've added this swing in the leg and another little chunk here. I confess, if you notice that there's some obvious marks of me frogging things out here, I worked on this and completely finished this next. I had finished one chunk. I went to work on the next chunk, this little swing here, and I completely stitched it in the wrong place. So I stitched this part that is supposed to be attached to the leg, obviously, because it finishes the curve of the leg. I had stitched it down here because of the way that the pattern chart is. For whatever reason, I didn't catch it. I don't know why. I was distracted by watching TV. Something. Anyway, it was also very tired from this weekend. So, but I stitched it in the wrong place. So I completely finished that section, and then held the canvas back and went, that looks weird. Why does that look weird? Because imagine that this section, this little L shape, was suddenly jutting out here and completely not contiguous. Like the black didn't continue through, and the brown was sort of like an extra blop of brown off of this big field of black here. It just looked weird, and it took me the longest time to figure out why, and then when I did figure out why, I swore a lot. And then not unpicked, but picked it out. So I replaced it, I finished it, I put it all back, it's where it's supposed to be now, and I would really like to not see this pattern for the next month. I won't wait that long because I'm stubborn. But I'm definitely not going to touch this for a few days because I was really frustrated by making that mistake. However, I think it's turning out very nicely. Obviously now I have a dragon foot. And this continues up, it continues over this way, so yeah. This is also fabric. This is a 28 count even weave. Again, I'm stitching it 1/1 full cross. I think the next Heaven and Earth design I will be stitching 2/1 tent stitch, because it just seems like it goes faster and it seems like it might be easier to stitch. But for now, I started it 1/1 or restarted it 1/1, and I'm just going to stick with that throughout. And the fabric is, I said it was 28 count even weave. It is fabric that I dyed. I was trying to go for a doubloon-like look. This is obviously darker than the doubloon piece that I have, but I still really like it. And then last but not least, my Death by Cross Stitch. I love this. This is still my favorite pattern. The Quotes to Live By stitch along is probably going to take a healthy second place, but this is still my favorite pattern to work on. I will insert a picture of what it looked like last time here. And here's where I am this time. I feel like I made a significant amount of progress this time. I think I was in the middle of row 5. So here, about last time I saw it, or you saw it, I finished row 5, obviously, and we get the first fish head here. Isn't he cute? For a disembodied fish head. I like this scalloped border, or the lacy border, lacy pattern that's running through here. I didn't actually recognize what I was stitching until I held it back and looked at the pattern and went, oh, that's what that is. All right. The unicorn obviously is almost complete. You just have to put his feet in. This little speckled grassy border is a little bit frustrating to stitch, but ultimately I love this, and I love it. Has kindled, as I said, I think last episode, it's kindled a love of the monochromatic patterns, and particularly Long Dog Sampler's patterns. Hey, I did it without mispronouncing her name. All right. So I have a ton of her patterns, you know, on my wish list that I would really like to do when I get this one finished. I have already decided, because of the number of things I've added recently, that I will not be adding anything else to my rotation until I finish something, because, as you can see, I have reached the point where I'm not making a lot of progress on all of my things, so I don't want to cut that down anymore. I would like to continue making progress, and so I will not be adding anything until something's done. And I do have a list, a huge list of things that I want to do when I have space. I just don't have it right now. But anyway, Long Dong... Oh, crap, I jinxed myself. Long Dog Samplers. This is, again, even weave, 28 count even weave. I'm stitching it 1/1 with DMC 400 because I love that ruddy brown color and enjoying it a lot. And now we have gotten through all of my works in progress. How about that? Yay! Let me talk to you very quickly about my haul, because I was bad and I did get things. I did order things. I didn't order a ton of things, but I go to 123 Stitch and I make the mistake of looking at sections that are on sale. And on top of my already exceptionally large wish list, I sometimes find things that I really want to have. And then I put them in the cart, and eventually I just pull the trigger and go ahead and buy things. Like this. This is the Desert Accents. I apologize for the glare on the glossy cover. Desert Accents pamphlet from Stony Creek. I mentioned in another video that I really like Native American things, Southwestern motif and art and things like that. Our house is somewhat decorated in that style. So I saw this was on sale and I had to get it. Kokopele. I showed you guys the full coverage Kokopele piece that I bought, or pattern that I bought a while ago, that I am itching to start, but will not, again, until I have some room. But, love Kokopele, love the pottery, love this little girl, she's so cute. And my husband is a big horse fan. Well, I am too, but he is a big horse fan, so that will go on a wall somewhere eventually. The gate I'm not so fond of, but it's nice. I'm just not a big landscape person, but yeah. So I got that. I ordered, as I had to, because I am doing the whole series, I ordered the February pattern from the Cricut collection. So that will get started sometime, probably not in February. We'll see. It depends. But I do have it, so I can get that done. I think I will probably hold off on ordering any more of them until I at least get February started, so who knows when that will be, but I did order it. And this I've been wanting for a while. I finally got the Raven Queen. I am so looking forward to doing this. I have a friend that I am going to be making this for. She's a very dear friend, and I have not lost entirely lost contact with her, but I have severely limited the amount of time that I talk to her, because we don't live that far away. It's kind of sad, but I used to talk to her a lot and I don't anymore, and this just reminds me of her, and so I'm going to do the Raven Queen for her someday. This is one of the next things that, when I have space, this is one of the next things that's going to go into my rotation, and it will probably take me forever to do it, but I am going to do it. This will be my first time working with, not my first time working with Mill Hill beads, because I have done that before, but it will be my first time working with any other type of floss. I have not worked with any other hand-dyed floss, so the water lilies and watercolors and things like that it calls for, that will be my first time doing that. And did I say last but not least? I'll say it now. Last but not least, I know I mentioned that I thought I had this pattern book in my stash somewhere and didn't know where. I have not found it. It's probably buried in a box in storage somewhere, and I will eventually come across it and kick myself for buying it again. But I did go ahead and buy the Carousel Horses in Cross Stitch. This is a book that I think Kelly has this book. I know that Brittany from Blimey Cat Studios, the woman who is responsible for the Birthstone Dragon Stitch-Along. I know that she has this book, a pattern book, and she is stitching Carousel Horses out of it. again, I had this at one point. This was one that was very favored by my husband. Again, he is a horse fanatic. He likes carousel horses. So he had made a request that I make some of these at one point, and then I promptly stopped cross-stitching and put the book away, and yeah, here we are. I won't show you the patterns or do a flip through or anything because you have seen these before. I know Brittany is currently working on the October horse, and I think she said that that was her favorite horse. The black stallion, basically, with... Sorry, I'm flipping pages and distracting myself. Black stallion with the bats and cats and witches and all that kind of fun thing. I think he's great. I love that horse too. But my favorite is actually the November horse. That is called November O'Plenty. And it is this one. Ta-da! This is he is a buckskin, and buckskin is my absolute favorite color as far as horses go. I had a buckskin at one point when I lived in Wyoming, yeah, I just really like that particular coloring. So this is my favorite of the horses in the book. Also, my husband's favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, so when I actually get a chance to start these, I will probably start with Thanksgiving, because this is the one that he would like the most. But they're all great. There are a couple of them that I'm not as fond of, as usually happens when you have a pattern book. But, yeah. So I finally got that. Caved and bought that. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you if I did with my sudden excitement. Some of you have mentioned having full sets of DMC, and I don't have that. I know that I'm probably about 100 colors short of having a full set of DMC. Maybe not that many, but close. But what I did do, because I confess, I was working on a lot of projects, and when I would kit up a new project, I went and I got a new floss box, and I bought new floss, and I was storing them in separate boxes. And when I added the new stitch-alongs, Dusty is attacking my hand to be petted, so I apologize for being a one-handed person for a second. Okay. I realized when I added the new stitch-alongs that I had a lot of floss boxes and a lot of duplicate floss, and here comes Dusty again, I think, if he can get past my pile of works in progress. Yep, there he is. Sorry for the camera moving. That it was just ridiculous, and it was inefficient, and I was getting confused, and yeah. So I went to Amazon, and I bought one of these options floss boxes. These are the... I'm not going to be able to show you because Dusty's taking up space on my desk now. There you go. These are the... Yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you well either because it's big, and I don't have that much space. Anyway... Still have the label on it. This is the box that will hold the entire set of DMC. Which means now that I can take one box, I can take this box with me if I travel, which I'm going to today, or anytime, and be able to work on all of my projects from the same box, which is beautiful. Makes it much more efficient, makes it much easier. I don't have to try to figure out which floss box is which, and... I'm super happy. I've been working out of this for the past couple of days, and I am really, really happy with having that particular storage solution, because the multiple floss boxes, if you're doing that and you have not considered doing this, you should consider doing this, because this is much, much easier. When I got it on Amazon, it was $10. I know Michaels, at least the Michaels near me, has them as well, and they just recently had a 50% off storage containers sale, and they do that on a regular basis. They are $20 normally at Michaels, so 50% off, $10. There was also a coupon a few days ago that was 50% off if you went in by a specific time, so it would have been 50% off of the 50% off, so you could have potentially gotten one of these boxes for $5 at Michael's. So keep an eye on Amazon, keep an eye on your Michael's if you have one near you. I don't know if Hobby Lobby carries them. I don't know if Joann's carries them. I didn't see them at Joann's when I went. I I don't go to Hobby Lobby anymore, so I can't tell you whether they're there, but keep an eye out because you can get them at affordable prices and you don't always have to pay 40 or 60 or however much people were originally paying for them. And that is all of my haul, which I'm going to take away from the cat before he completely knocks it over and kills my camera in the process. So, I said at the beginning that I was going to talk about other things. If you are not interested in other things, or in things other than cross-stitch, and since I have been talking for what feels like quite a long time this time, this is where you are welcome to say goodbye and go and watch somebody else's Flosstube channel. And if you leave me, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for sticking with me this long and listening to me speed through my works in progress and probably giggling at the amount of stitch-alongs that I'm doing. Dusty is completely bored, as you can tell, since he's decided to make himself comfortable now. But this is where I'm going to start talking about things other than stitching. So, have a good stitchy week. Have a good upcoming weekend, because I won't see you before then. And I hope that you're doing well and that you are meeting all of your stitchy goals. If you are sticking around, if you're still here, I will bring my little friend back in here. This is a My Sweet Pony, and it is I don't know if you can tell, you can see the texture on him. This is a felt doll that was hand-stitched by yours truly. The pattern comes from a woman who goes by the name, or rather her Etsy shop, her Instagram is Ginger Melon Girl. I think her Etsy shop is Ginger Melon. Just Ginger Melon. But I will link both of those to the notes down there. It is obviously a pony pattern. This is the first one that I made, and he is my favorite, even though he's a little tiny. And I learned the lovely lesson that you cannot really put fabric paint on felt. It does not stick well, so he ended up looking like an Appaloosa, which is great! I love Appaloosas. I don't mind. I have made many of these. I have given some of them away. I have sold some to friends. I do take custom orders on them, so you can make requests, and I will be selling more of these. I am also working on modifying the patterns so that I can make other creatures. The pattern itself does come with a unicorn horn. It comes with a couple of types of tail. It comes with a couple types of mane. It comes with Pegasus wings. I have made ponies with the pieces that it comes with. I have modified some of the pieces to make them a little bit different. So you can look and see some of them on my Instagram account. Like I said, I am going to be making more. Occasionally, I am also going to be doing big changes, big custom sort of, I don't know if you want to call them cosplay or costume or whatever you want to call them, but occasionally I'm going to do bigger, potentially limited edition runs of ponies. I call them, the reason my channel is called Little Snips and the reason my Instagram is called Little Snips is because I call them Little Snips. I have 2 Etsy shops, one in which I sell fiber and yarn, and one in which I sell things like this. And they are little, the second shop, the Little Snips shop, is full of small pieces. I do beads, I do bead work, I do felt dolls, I do quilling pieces, so they're all relatively small. And so I call that Little Snips. And these were the reason why I called them Little Snips. Please don't do that on camera. Anyway, occasionally I'm going to do things like this. If you know your Marvel, this is Deadpool. Or as some people have, sorry, he has a schmutz on his eye. As some people have lovingly called him, Dead Pony. If you have seen the movie, there is sort of an inside running joke about Deadpool and unicorns, which is why I made him a unicorn. I'm not going to tell you what the joke is because it's definitely not appropriate for children. So if you want to look it up, you can do that, or ask somebody who is a Marvel fan or a Deadpool fan if you are not, and you are desperate to know why he's a unicorn. don't say I didn't warn you if you don't like the answer. But, yeah, this was based on a ginger melon pattern, but this is not actually, none of this is, I'm sorry, take that back. Nope, not even the ears. None of this is actually from her pattern. It is just, I used her pattern as an idea to kick the idea off, and then I did the rest of it. So, Little Snips, Dead Pony. I'm planning on doing a limited edition run of him. I will post that on my Instagram and let people know when that happens, but I do have other characters in mind to do. I also do original characters. I also do other cosplays. I did a Twilight Sparkle from the My Little Pony animated show, if you are familiar with that. So, if you're interested in that kind of thing, keep an eye on my Instagram. You will see them there. Yeah, they're pretty fun. I'm working on ways to make them faster to put together, because at the moment, these are all hand cut and hand sewn, and they take quite a bit of time. I have also made dragons, so another modification where I've made dragons with a couple of different wing styles. I am planning on making other animals, so again, if you're interested, keep your eye on my Instagram, and I will let you know when that happens. Or, keep checking in here every once in a while, and when I have something new, I will show you. I did say at the beginning that I am also a knitter. I'm not sure about showing you knitting a lot of the time, because it's, with my limited space, my, restricted camera space, it's kind of hard to show you the full effect of knitting things. However, I really wanted to show you this shawl because I think it's really, really pretty. This is the Lavanya shawl. Cat, you're in the way. And somebody pointed out to me that this particular knot pattern kind of looks like the San Francisco Giants logo, and it kind of does, particularly in this color scheme. This is a slipped stitch color work pattern. It is a shawl. It's not complete, obviously, since it's still on the needles and there's still yarn hanging out everywhere. This particular pattern calls for kauni. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's wool. And it's not a particularly soft wool. I am told that as you wash it and wear it, it gets softer. It is a boomerang-shaped, sort of not, definitely not an equilateral, not an evenly balanced shaped shawl. But, and like I said, showing you this in this amount of space is difficult because you can't see me really stretch it out. But I just love this shawl. I bought it because I like the pattern, the key, Greek, I want to say Greek key, and it's not exactly Greek key, but close. But the pattern, the scrollwork, knotwork pattern, I bought the particular color combination I did because I wanted it to go through the rainbow. So obviously, we have starting down here in the red that goes through the orange and the yellow, and then up here on the shoulder piece, it's going through the green and the blue. I'm hoping to get to the purple, but it's sort of a blue-violet, so it's not strikingly purple, so it may not get that far because I'm very near the end. But overall, I'm really impressed by this pattern. I will link the pattern in the notes. But yeah, not sure about showing you knitting again unless it's smaller than this. But I might show you some of the yarn that I've dyed, or some of the fiber that I've dyed, or some of the yarn that I've spun up in the future. Just trying to sort of get everything in here so people who are interested can see it, and so I can make myself actually make progress on things. That's probably the bigger reason, is if I have to show you, or if I feel like I should be showing you, I will actually do things. Go figure. Anyway, for this episode, I think I've talked enough, I've shown you enough, my cat has taken over my desk enough, so I will go ahead and say goodbye for episode 7. If you are interested in leaving a comment, please do. If you have any questions or things that you want to know more about, again, ask in the comments. I do check them. I try to stay on top of them. I get behind sometimes, but I do try to stay on top. I am pretty behind in watching other people's Flosstube videos right now. I don't know what happened, but I got overwhelmed by the number of people, and there are so many new Flosstubers out there, and you're all amazing. You're all incredible, and if you are watching Flosstube and debating whether or not you should make a video, make a video. We love you. We love the videos, so don't be intimidated by being new to Flosstube or being new to cross-stitching or new to whatever you're doing, go ahead and make a video and get it out there. This community is amazing and supportive, and I promise you, you are not going to regret making videos. Anyway, like I said, I have rambled enough, so I'm gonna go. I will see you next time. Hopefully with more progress on some of those projects. Maybe with some new ponies, maybe with some new stuff to show you at the end. Regardless, have a great stitchy couple of weeks. I hope that your life and your universe and everything goes well for you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.